Sometimes another reason why I'm upset with my dad is that sometimes he does things that he knows I'd love to take part in and just does them by himself. Once he was baking out the entire Christmas story, including Mary, Joseph, various shepherds, angels, and even the sheep and the gingerbread baby Jesus. And he did all that at 4 in the morning without even trying to wake me up. That's how awful my dad is sometimes. Lucky for him, he didn't bake actual cookies, but only his personalized low-fat, low-sugar, zero-frosting gingerbread ones that no one except him would even want to touch with a 10-feet pole. Or one last example of the absolutely horrible things my dad gets up to. I love counting the donation after church service, sorting the coins and rolling them up inside neat little paper cylinders and all that. That's why I usually spend the time after church service in the sacristy, especially on holidays like Christmas or Easter, when a lot of visitors are already a guarantee, and with them a lot of donations. It's fun to watch all the coins clatter out of the little basket onto the little hardwood desk at the back of the sacristy, and even more fun when it's not just coins but actual notes that do more floating than clattering. Especially if, after digging through the little heap of €5 notes, I actually find a 20 or even a €50 note, or encounter, if in slight annoyance, what I thought to be a perfectly average euro that turns out to be a piece of outdated or foreign currency. My dad used to say that he preferred quiet offerings, which I didn't understand at first, until he explained that quiet offerings were the notes that obviously have a higher monetary value and also obviously were much quieter than the clattering coins. He likes to make weird jokes like that only he understands and that only make him laugh. It just happens sometimes, don't worry about it. He just has a very poor sense of humor. Teachers are the exact same. They try to make a joke in class and then act all surprised when nobody laughs. Back on the topic. I like counting the donations people make at church, as it's the most fun when the donation baskets are filled to the brim with coins and notes, which rarely happens, mostly because there are so few people who actually go to church every week. Sometimes I wonder if it's because the word has spread in Mitchell and surrounding villages that every church service is accompanied by my dad's just awful singing, which is objectively true. He likes to think he has an amazing singing voice, and he's right in the sense that it's amazingly shrill and eardrum shattering. On top of that, he talks 400 words per minute and mumbles most of them into his Santa Claus reveling beard. So he's hard to understand for anyone without superhuman hearing capabilities. Add on that the fact that he usually looks like he just crawled out of a landfill for slowly degenerating clothes articles and then did a boxing stop at the nearest tool shed to equip himself with the maximum amount of screwdrivers and chewed up pencil a person is legally allowed to carry on themselves. And you really shouldn't be surprised why he acts as a highly effective people repellent. Right. I wanted to tell you about that one time I got terribly upset and disappointed with my dad. As I said, I love counting money. It's a lot of fun, and for someone like me, whose dad is coincidentally also the local pastor, there are a lot of opportunities. Not just after church services, but also at the end of the month, for example, when all the donations, offerings, etc. from every church in the area are counted together. Oftentimes, people give donations directly to my dad. As a pastor, he visits a lot of people on the daily, and oftentimes they give him small sums of money either for himself, the local Christian community, or charity organizations like Bread for the World. Of course, Dad can't actually take the money for himself, so he usually donates the money to youth group projects or the community. He tells us that whenever he comes home after a roadside visit, he feels a Viking comes back from a successful raid when in reality the faraway countries he pretends to have robbed in his mind are just an old lady named Mrs. X and so weiter that lives in the very end of the main road, or Mrs. Epsilon sowieso in the neighbor village who just lost her second husband, or poor Mrs. Z. ihr wisst schon wer, who had to attend the funerals of all her 3 children. Those are the people that he doesn't rob. My dad would never do that, but that give away bars of pieces of cake, apples, or sometimes even an entire apple or bars of chocolate for us children. I almost feel like if he wanted, he could live from just the food he brings home from his visits. That's not true, obviously. Sometimes he only gets a single piece of candy or nothing at all. And while my dad occasionally tries to discourage people from basically shoving food into his countless pockets, it's not like he can actually do anything to stop them. Anyway, one time, my dad counted the monthly collection of donations and offerings without either me and Janine, and I was mad about it. Bunny, he told me, spiting the fact that I have very small ears and also hate being called anything even remotely cute. This time it would have been no fun at all. Everything was going wrong. There were 40 euro missing. I counted everything half a dozen times and there were always 40 euro missing. But how does something like that happen? I asked. Dad shrugged. I don't know, Anna. The easiest explanation would be that with all the donations I got over the last months, I made a lot of little mistakes. Maybe I didn't notice a 1 euro piece rolling under the desk, or a 5 euro note float onto the floor beneath the altar. Maybe I confused a 1 euro piece with a 2 euro one, and all these little mistakes adding up. It's not impossible to lose 40 euro that way. Sure, but isn't it strange how it's a perfectly even amount of money? I was still wondering. It appears that my little daughter wants to play detective. You're right, though. It is strange that the missing sum comes up to exactly 40 euro. You could say, and here my dad smiled, that it's a biblical sum. Jesus fasted for 40 days and 40 nights, and Moses spent 40 years leading the people through the desert. I answered automatically. Because whether you want to or not, you can't help but absorb random bits and pieces of biblical knowledge when you have a pastor for a father. I usually didn't want to, and just happened to stand in the line of fire when Dad started on his theological musings. Exactly. And maybe God is using this missing sum, he kept going with his private sermon, to try and teach me a lesson, to be more careful with other people's money in the future. Why would God try to teach you the lesson? It's not you stole the money or something like that.